But no, I'm not convinced about that. I think that we should continue to investigate what went on in China until we find out, to the best of our ability, exactly what happened. Certainly, the people who've investigated say it likely was the emergence from an animal reservoir that then infected individuals, but it could have been something else. And we need to find that out. So, that's the reason why I said I'm perfectly in favor of any investigation that looks into the origin of the virus.
Oh, Fauci all of a sudden wants the intellectual approach, the scientific method. He wants us to be able to ask questions and really get true answers about the origins of COVID-19. Gee, it's almost like this guy is a weather vane. It's almost like he just goes wherever the political winds are blowing at any point in time. Don't you all recall that when Donald Trump, among others, was putting forward the idea that this came from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, that the pandemic that has shocked and greatly wounded the world and caused millions of deaths, don't we all remember when that was raised? It was, oh no, it came from bats. Actually, a pangolin. Actually, I don't know. Who knows what animal it was? But something in a wet market, yada, 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 global pandemic. Shut up and do what you're told. That was the idea. That was what they were telling us. Some people, though, were saying, hold on a second. This just happens to show up, this COVID-19 virus, right in the near vicinity of the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which was studying bat viruses and engaged in gain of function research when it comes to bat viruses. That is a massive coincidence, isn't it? China's a very big country, and it's a big world out there. A lot of places you could have zoonotic transmission from animal to human, the jump that occurs. Why do we usually have, and here's a bit of important trivia for all of you, why do we usually have flu viruses come from China? Because of their practices of raising and close contact with livestock animals. That's why you get swine flu, bird flu. They come from China because of the zoonotic transmission that occurs. But this coronavirus, this bat virus, are there people that are in huge numbers in close contact with vast quantities of bats, the same way they are with geese, with pigs, with chickens? No, they are not. So what are the chances, really, that this just magically jumped from bat to human or from bat to pangolin to human? If you ask these questions, if you approach this with intellectual honesty, you were shouted down. The World Health Organization has looked into this, they say. The World Health Organization has given us all the information we need. Well, no, that's not true. You recently, in the journal Science, had 18 biologists, immunologists, and other scientists who were criticizing the WHO report. And these are people with the most impeccable credentials you can find. And they were saying that there needs to be a much more extensive evaluation of the zoonotic transmission hypothesis, that there's very little clear data on this one, and that concluding that this is settled science is absurd. But why is that only happening now? This is where you get into the politics of it. This is where you get into why we were all told to shut up. First of all, that they couldn't even tell you where the virus came from, how it got started, what its origins were, was something that the panicked public health establishment did not want to admit, because then they also were telling you, oh, don't worry, we know that social distancing and Lysoling your groceries and washing your hands 30 times a day and wearing a mask, we know that these things will stop the spread. They'll flatten the curve. Remember that? Did they really flatten the curve? Does anyone but still believe that? Oh, sure. Now it's, well, maybe it reduced to 2% or 5% or something, but originally it was just do these things and we'll stop this thing in its tracks. Didn't happen. Didn't work. And mask maniac blue Democrat parts of the country got hit worse than anywhere else. But you weren't allowed to ask questions. You weren't allowed to say, hold on a second. What's really going on here? You had to listen to Fauci talking about the reservoir theory. It came from the reservoir. And everyone said, well, listen to the science. Now, some of these same voices are saying, oh, yeah, no, we're not convinced the WHO, which is acting at the behest of China on this one, China won't share some of its data on the origins of this virus. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you share data? This is just about a disease. This is just about a virus. What do you have to hide, China? We all know the answer's a lot. So there was we don't want people to understand that we don't really know that much about this virus component of it, because it's harder to control people in the way that they wanted to when you have to admit there's a lot you don't know. If there's a lot you don't know, then people start thinking maybe we should ask some questions, and maybe they don't know what the heck they're talking about. Couldn't have that. Couldn't have doubts. Not allowed. And then there was the other political component of this. Do you remember who was blamed more than any other person for the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 in this country and in our media? Donald Trump. As crazy as it was, as unfair, as reckless and ruthless as it was, they made it seem like if only Trump had done X, Y, and Z, we'd be so much better off. And to that I say, look at Western Europe, look at India, look at Brazil, look at countries of comparable size and density that have had enormously worse outcomes from COVID-19 on a per capita basis. But Donald Trump didn't believe the science. That was the story they told us. That was the belief that we were supposed to have. And look what that left us with. Now we had an entire population cowed by the so-called experts. Oh, we can't ask questions. Do as you're told. Double mask. Any person able to think for themselves would say, really? It took them almost a full year. Masking is so effective that it took them almost a full year to decide that double masking was much more effective. They didn't know that additional masking wouldn't limit the droplets coming out of your mouth. As if that's really how people are all getting the virus. We're all being hit with spittle all the time. No, that's not actually how people were getting this. We all know it. We all know it now. They were wrong, and wrong again. But it was so important to blame Donald Trump and to make sure that Trump, who was somebody that had taken a different posture toward China, that was willing to confront China, that views the Chinese Communist Party as a true and direct threat to U.S. and just Western democratic rule of law hegemony. China is a threat to all of that economically, politically, and yes, militarily. Trump understands that. And so he takes the position that we should call it the China virus. Why do they say you can't do that? Oh, now we hear about the South African variant and the Brazilian variant and all the variants. You know, Fauci talks about the variants all the time based on where we first figure out where these things come from. Why was it racist to call it the China virus? Remember? It's so racist. Oh, okay. That's not something that we worry about when it comes to Zika or Spanish flu or West Nile or you name it. Any number of viruses named for places from which Ebola. But no, it was racist to call it the China virus or the Chinese virus or whatever it was that Trump was saying, because if it was clear that this was the recklessness of the primary adversary on the world stage that Donald Trump had been trying to confront for years, and that their recklessness and lies led to a global pandemic that cost millions of lives, trillions of dollars, some people might have said, wow, Trump was really onto something with that, wasn't he? At least he saw the challenge of China coming and was willing to do something about it. But no, it was much more important to just emotionally and irrationally place blame on Trump for COVID and to pander to the social justice rhetoric of the left and the identity politics. And, Trump is racist when he talks about the virus that's infecting everyone all over the world. Somehow that was racist. No, we see now that they have been wrong and in many cases lied to us, certainly about their certainty. They lied to us about the degree to which they had answers, which when you're talking about health is wrong, is reckless, is destructive. They should have been saying all along, we don't know. We can't prove this. We don't have data for this. We don't know that it didn't come from a lab. Prove that it came from a lab and let's talk about it. Instead, it was, no, the WHO, sorry, already looked at this. We can't prove how effective, or even if they're effective at all, masks actually are. They don't have this data. They only have lab studies, but no. We know, we're certain. Over and over again, friends, there are two kinds of people in this country, and you've seen it play out for over a year now. Those who can think for themselves and those who cannot.
Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.